post-merge, ETH has become obsolete. Once again, this article and how it's being interpreted on Twitter and in Reddit and in chat apps and on Discord and in Rocket Chat and everywhere is wrong. Okay. So we're not saying that Ethereum as a whole here has become obsolete. What we're specifically talking about here is the Ethereum token, or the ETH token, has become obsolete. And the reasoning behind this is actually pretty simple. What you have is you have staked Ethereum, and then you have all the Ethereum that's not staked, right? Well, the only thing that is generating revenue is the staked Ethereum. So if you have a bit of Ethereum, on the Ethereum blockchain, or a bit of ETH, you're actually just wasting your money. So most people are taking that and swapping it for something like ST, ETH, etc. So because of the way all of it functions, the idea here is that ETH itself only becomes basically this transactional currency that's always used to swap for ST ETH at the end of the day, or to be used to pay for a few fees. But by and large, the ETH token itself will all become locked up in staked contracts, and you will never see it being utilized as you've seen it being utilized in the past. Now, we've talked about this before too, as a little bit different than when you're talking about mining versus staking. This obviously becomes a problem, right? Because if you're mining, then not only are you basically transacting all the time to get that ETH in and out and utilize it, but previously when you were mining, you were minting new Ethereum. So new Ethereum was coming into the ecosystem. With staking as it sits right now with Ethereum, no new ETH is coming into the ecosystem. It is only being burned out of the ecosystem. So at this point, you have two huge funnels basically sucking up all the Ethereum. You have the staking contracts and you have the EIP 1559 burn. So essentially, all the ETH at the end of the day right now is just incentivized to, on the burn, not incentivized, but outside of the burn is being incentivized to just be removed out of the ecosystem. Staked ETH is more capital efficient and more profitable than regular ETH, and platforms that offer liquid staking derivatives are bolstering its popularity. For years, various blockchain projects were rumored to be the future, or be future Ethereum killers, projects that would unseat Ether from its throne and usurp its title as the top digital asset. That day seems to have come, though it appears it was an inside job. Lido staked Ethereum, ST ETH, and other liquid staking derivatives are primed to render ETH as an asset obsolete. The transition from proof of work to proof of stake allows everyday decentralized finance users to benefit from the rewards previously reserved for miners simply by holding ST ETH or any other ETH liquid staking derivative. This has given way to a wave of interest across the industry, from individuals to institutions across centralized finance and DeFi. In the past months, the ETH liquid staking derivatives have received a ton of attention, and titans of the industry, including Coinbase and Frax, have released ETH liquid staking derivatives. Liquid staking derivatives offer all the benefits of regular ETH while also being yield-generating assets. Here's an interesting point I'm going to bring up. Here is the one benefit that liquid staking derivatives don't have compared to ETH, and that is paying for transactions. At the end of the day, you always have to have a little bit of ETH in your wallet to pay for transactions, which actually brings up a pretty funny problem that could end up rearing its head and making your actual ETH worth way more than any liquid staked derivative. And that's that people are going to need your ETH just to transact with their tokens, which is freaking hilarious to me. But in addition to that we should bring up is that Ergo does technically have a proposal to solve this problem on their blockchain, where they will allow you, it will basically enable people to swap with paying for fees in tokens. However, that is also using an underlying liquidity pool of Ergo. So really, at the end of the day, I suppose you still are having that Ergo paid out, and the person that's actually making money off of that transaction is the person that still holds the Ergo. At the end of the day, though, it does bring up this kind of like funny situation where you could end up driving the price of non-liquid staked derivatives or raising the price of, non-liquid staked derivatives Ethereum, right? So you're just straight up ETH. And I think that could be a really funny problem when it rears its head. So anyways, the article's argument's a little bit different. It says that means holders are able to gain exposure to ETH's price action and maintain liquidity while harnessing staking benefits. While it's holding ST-ETH, we'll see their holdings gradually increase as staking yields are regularly added into the sum. While most staking strategies require locking up funds in a validator, liquid staking derivatives allow users to maintain liquidity while still benefiting from the staking yield. ETH locked up in staking validators isn't available for withdrawal until an ambiguous time in the future, likely with the Shanghai update. And that is, just to be clear, like the Shanghai update is stated on ethereum.org. It is stated by Tim Biko on his GitHub. But from what I understand from Mr. Tom and some other core devs, the core devs are definitely arguing pretty heavy surrounding the Shanghai update. And it's important to note that from the perspective, at least from my perspective of what happens when withdrawals get unlocked on Ethereum, it's probably best that withdrawals are basically never unlocked. Otherwise, the whole entire token could essentially collapse, in my humble opinion. So, there's probably some of the devs, half the dev teams, it's like, if we unlock this, like, this shit could collapse on us, bro. And then there's the other half that's like, but we said we're going to do it, so we're going to do it, and it's going to work fine. And I just kind of wonder how these arguments are going back and forth. So simply put, ETH liquid staking tokens are just more capital efficient than standard ETH or more traditional staking practices. From a user perspective, there's little reason to hold regular ETH, where the only potential upside would be an increase in price when they could hold a liquid staking derivative that would boost their prospective profits via stake yielding. Here's the other thing, though, that we need to bring up. We are in a position where proof of stake is basically influencing everybody to completely centralize the holdings of Ethereum. So ETH, the actual token that is actually powering the Ethereum blockchain, right? Because that's what you need to transact, etc. All that is all getting consolidated into basically the same place because none of the users want to have an illiquid asset, right? So you end up in this position where obviously, like we've seen, we have, a growing percentage, a very scary growing percentage of validation being done on AWS. This is, like we've seen, giving, whether valid or not, the SEC the idea that the US government has jurisdiction over Ethereum now, and it's only becoming more and more centralized because essentially you are, as a user, incentivized to take your ETH, give it to another company so that you get a liquid asset, a liquid staked asset in return, and then you earn some extra coin. But as we've seen, this never works out in cryptocurrency. Because you know what the fact of the matter is? The fact of the matter is we've seen this before, right? In a centralized manner, sure, yes, but we've seen this before. What happens if you give a centralized entity a bunch of your freaking money? Well, Celsius happens. So if you are consistently centralizing the entire currency and then giving that centralized entity all of your ETH, eventually what happens? Just at a much grander scale. From a user perspective, there's little reason to hold the regular ETH. Like we said, project founders have adopted similar mentality from DeFi to non-fungible token projects. Teams across Web3 have integrated ST-ETH into their protocols, with behemoths such as Curve and Aave making it even easier for DeFi users to integrate ST-ETH into their investment strategies. As you can see here, Lido Finance itself holds 31% of the total locked ETH, with Coinbase having 15%. Luckily, there's 23% unlabeled, which is a little bit helpful. But how long before that unlabeled gets consolidated into Coinbase, Kraken, Lido, and Binance, right? For lending protocols, ST-ETH offers the ability to increase yield collateral without having to make risky investment decisions to keep users satisfied. NFT projects are able to establish a source of revenue through their mint proceeds rather than being left with a finite lump sum, and by making it easier for Web3 projects to stay afloat and keep their community happy. ETH liquid staking derivatives free up project leaders to move beyond money worries and shepherd true innovation. At least that's the argument. Beyond being far more capital efficient, ETH liquid staking derivatives help in maintaining the Ethereum network. ST-ETH and other derivatives represent Ether, which has been deposited into an Ethereum validator to help provide network security. The centralization of the staked ETH has been a major criticism of the proof-of-stake consensus model, with Lido accounting for more than 80% of the market share of liquid staking derivatives while controlling over 30% of the staked ETH. Now, he goes on to say that, however, the recent proliferation of alternatives is poised to quell such worries as the market share becomes spread between various organizations. It's like this, though. And we kind of see it, with, I would equate it to, this is actually very, very perfect, and maybe you're going to disagree with it. But I would compare essentially Ethereum moving to proof of stake to the lockdowns from, of course, the recent events, medical worries, etc. Why is that? Well, it's because the lockdowns essentially consolidated a majority of the wealth into a few companies. And that's what you're doing. Sure, it's decentralized across Amazon, Microsoft, Google, whatever. But all the little guys are gone. The individual validators are done. The small business owners are done. And if this happens with Ethereum as a cryptocurrency, where in my humble opinion, essentially you're supposed to have the complete opposite of that from a principled standpoint, essentially all Ethereum becomes is a corporate lackey that will just need to have, obviously, because of the potential issues with the U.S. government having jurisdiction over it, have lobbyists in the government just like all the big corporations do, which they already do, right? Coinbase already has these people working for them. Binance already has them. I'm sure Lido does as well. So you end up, basically, Ethereum is just a corporate run blockchain. At the end of the day, the structure is that itself. And this is why the other day I had this kind of like this tweet where I was talking about like company integrations and, should a company own a blockchain, that sort of stuff. But where it gets really, really interesting with ETH is it's all roundabout, right? Because at the end of the day, yes, the blockchain itself isn't a company, right? Ethereum itself, but all of the consensus, all of the transactions are essentially run by individual companies. And they're too big to fail, and they push out the little guy, and there's no actual solving of what we've seen with traditional finance. It just goes all back to that. It all basically goes back around. As the benefits of staking continue to be covered in the press, liquid staking derivatives are sure to become a central part of even the simplest DeFi strategies. Coinbase providing CB-ETH means that even retail investors will be familiar with the strategy. We're likely to see a steep upshoot in protocols accepting liquid staking derivatives as users begin to flock to essentially free yield. Soon, many DeFi users may only hold ETH to cover their gas fees. And that's what we were talking about earlier. And I think that is where some opportunity is from a holding perspective. If your entire like if your entire investment is tied up in essentially something that doesn't allow you to transact, then, and for you to transact, you need access to, you know, the ETH token to basically cover the gas fees. You're probably going to be more likely to pay more for the Ethereum that covers your gas fees than you are for the staked representation of the Ethereum. So then you always end up, I think, at the end of the day with the imbalance between liquid stake derivatives and ETH itself being off, with ETH itself actually being worth more because the actual utility of the token is worth a lot more than the utility of the staked Ethereum token. So I understand what the article is saying, right? Where it's saying essentially it's dumb. It would be silly of you not to convert all of your Ethereum into a liquid stake derivative because you want to earn that passive income off of it. But at the end of the day, are you earning enough passive income off of it to account for the disparity between price of the liquid derivative and the actual token itself? And I would posture the answer to that will be no. Because everybody will need the unstaked ETH, but everybody will have staked their ETH. Meaning that your unstaked ETH will be worth worlds more than your staked ETH derivative or liquid staked derivative. Eventually. Because right now what it is, as this article points out, is that everybody is greedy, so everybody wants to actually earn the money off of it, so they're going to dump all of their Ethereum into it. Then they're going to have no Ethereum for fees, and then bing, bang, bada, boom, your Ethereum that allows them to actually transact on the network because they were too stupid to realize they needed it is worth a lot more than their derivative is. Done. Hopefully that makes sense. The long foretold ETH killer appears to have finally emerged, though it looks like it will only boost Ethereum security in its supporters' bags. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Crypto Mining Show. You can check out the full episode here or more crypto content down here. Also, I'd like you to check out my locals page at sonofatech.locals.com where you can become a member for free or choose to be a $5 a month supporter that unlocks additional content.